Welcome everyone. This is an overview and demo on how to configure Cisco CSR1Kv using Cisco CloudCenter external scripts. This session is brought to you by NetNewum. The agenda for this session is as follows. In this session, we will be giving you a brief explanation of what CloudCenter as a product is and how it fits into the big scheme of things. Now we are going to go over what this use case is about and what the goal of this use case actually is. Next, we will get into the nuts and bolts. This is an exciting part, as here we will share with you the necessary steps needed to achieve the goal at hand, and then we will conclude our presentation. Now let's get into what a cloud center is and how we can incorporate it into a relevant business environment. In traditional data center networks, UCSD takes care of infrastructure orchestration. Usually applications are deployed in data centers, but now we have public and private clouds to orchestrate full lifecycle deployments across different platforms and environments. So this is where the Cloud Center actually comes in, as it will allow us to create and model our applications and deploy it across multiple clouds, let that be public or private. Now let's look into the 4 key components of the Cloud Center. A user will witness these components being utilized while working with this use case itself. First, we have the manager. This is the centralized point to any configuration one wants for the application, allowing us to create a cloud-agnostic model for an application in order to have full control. It aids in monitoring the status of the application as it is deployed. Second, we have the orchestrator. If you want to deploy an application, let's say, in any cloud, there is a need for an ambassador that will translate the cloud-agnostic blueprint to specific words, terms, and APIs. Depending on the requirement of the Cloud Center, the ambassador in this case is the orchestrator. Third, we have the repo. When scripts are created, they are stored in an artifact repository. So the repo is the artifact repository in this scenario. Then we move on to the fourth and the last component, which is the RabbitMQ. It is the key component as it is a messaging system that ensures that packets don't get dropped while multiple applications are being deployed, and it is also in communication with the orchestrator. Now that we know what Cloud Center is and how it fits into the big scheme of things and what the key components are, we will move on and talk about the use case itself. The goal of this Appnote is to demonstrate how an application architect benefits from Cloud Center app deployment in a Cisco Cloud Service Router environment in Amazon Web Services. In particular, it highlights how repetitive Cisco CSR1Kv operational tasks requiring a network security admin change can now be integrated into Cisco Cloud Center app deployment automation. Whenever a new virtual machine is deployed using Cloud Center, the new virtual machine uses Python and shell script to create an access control list and as well as a network address translation entry on the CSR1Kv to allow the virtual machine to access any other services, let that be the internet, database, or even remote access through SSH. Now we are going to go over the tasks and steps of this use case. However, as this is an overview presentation, we will only be focusing on the key steps. Having said that, the detailed deployment guide is available along with this presentation for your use. It will have step-by-step instructions along with visuals in the form of screenshots to aid the user to successfully complete this task. Now let's get into the tasks and key steps. Tasks 1 and 2 comprise of the following. First of all, obtaining the Cloud Center software, for which you will need the right credentials. This is for execution purposes. Next, we move on to task 2. Here we will be creating instances, security groups, and devices such as VPCs, subnets, and also routing tables. Then you will have to tie in the security groups to the instances, and after doing so, the user will add the public IP of CCO to the AWS security group. For demo purposes, I wanted to navigate with you through the AWS environment. So let's go ahead and do that together. So once you log in with your login info, this is what you will see. We are inside the EC2 dashboard. And how you get here is what you do is that you click on the services and then you click on EC2. And this is what you are going to be redirected to. Now we're going to be starting off by creating security groups. So under the Network and Security tab, we're going to click on Security Groups. As you can see, I've already created my security groups. Before I show you how to create a security group, I want to click on one of the security groups that I already have right here and just mention to you that on the bottom half of the screen, we have all the information that we need about each respective security group. So let's say if you needed the group ID or the VPC ID, you have a VPC ID, you have it right here. And with security groups, there are rules. They can be inbound or outbound. So when you are creating a security group, you basically add rules, and they will be shown right here. So now let's go ahead and create a security group. So you click Create Security Group, and you will be prompted onto this window right here. For security group name, I will write test. For description, I will just do testing, and then you add 3 rules. So for the first rule type, I will use SSH. For the second rule type, I will do HTTP, and the third I will let it be custom TCP. For port range, I will for custom TCP, I would put, let's say, 8433. And then for the source, I would do my IP for the first one, my IP for the second one, and then for the third one, I would do custom. And then I would put in the Amazon IP, which is 172.0.0.0/16, let's say. And then once you have filled out all the information and you've set the rules, you can click on create, and the security group will be created. So this is how we create a security group. Now let's go ahead and show you how to launch an instance. So then again, under the EC2 dashboard, you go under the Instances tab, you click on Instances. So these are all my instances right here. Again, before I show you how to launch an instance, I wanted to click on one of the instances that are already here. And as you can see, again, we have all the information about that instance, from the public IP to the private IP, the key pair name. We have so basically we have all the information that we need for that specific instance. So now let's go ahead and launch the instance. So you click Launch Instance, and it prompts you to this page right here. It asks you to choose an Amazon machine image. So we click on AWS Marketplace. We are going to be working with CentOS. So I'm going to type in CentOS, and then I'm going to click on the first option. This is just the information about the selection I have made. I will click Continue, scroll down and click Continue. Then I will be asked to choose an instance type. For this demo, I will be using general purpose T2 medium. Then I will be moving on to configure instance details. Here for network, I will use custom VPC. For subnet, I have already set it to US West 2B prior to this demo, and then I will be moving on to adding the storage. For volume type, we are working with the general purpose SSD. Then we can go ahead and review and launch. So over here, you basically have all the details and configurations that you have made prior, and now you know what your instance is made up of. We can ignore this message over here, and then we can basically click launch. So now, before the instance launches, you have to either create a new key pair or add to an existing key pair. This key pair is important, and you need to make sure you remember where you save it. Either way, if you're adding it to an existing key pair or you're creating a new one, because this key pair serves as a validation if you are trying to establish a connection between the AWS environment and another device, or between two devices. Key pairs are used as validation. So as long as you save it where you can easily access it on your device, you will be good to go. And then the instance will launch. So once the instance launches, it will be added to this list right here, and then you are now ready to move on to the next tasks. Once the instances, security groups, and all the other devices have been created, and all the above steps have been done, we can move on. So in task 3, what we are doing is that we are converting the Amazon private key into a PuTTY private key. You can use any software for the conversion. It doesn't really matter as long as you have the key pair in the right format. For this example, however, we have used the PuTTY software. As long as you have the key pair on your device in a folder that you can easily access it and remember where it is when you are carrying out this deployment, it will be fine. Next, we move on to task 4 and 5. Here we are basically configuring all the instances, and we are also configuring the CSR1Kv. Since all the configuration steps are pretty repetitive, I'm going to be going over one of the configurations with you for demo purposes. So let's configure the CloudCenter manager together. I will be giving you an overview right here. So as we go into the PuTTY environment, as you can see, I'm already inside the root of the CCM, which is the cloud manager. I have installed the CCM installer jar file, the CCM response, the core installer. And once you have installed all these files, you can move on and you can run the core installer bin command. And as you can see, the uncompressing and everything happened. Everything is looking good. I'm just highlighting to show you. And then we move on and we go ahead and run the java jar command. This unpacks all the packets. Then once you have done all this, you basically have to enter the wizard, and you run this command to enter the wizard. So now, just for demo purposes and just to show you the actual configuration process, I'm going to be entering into the wizard by running this command right here. Again, all this is available in the deployment guide for your use. You click enter and you basically are prompted into this welcome to server config utility. You press enter, then you click down to server info. You basically change the IP address. Once you have done that, you can click tab and you can enter OK. It asks you if you want to save the changes. You say yes. And then you basically you scroll down to exit. And you click enter, and it asks you if you want to restart the server. You say yes. I won't do that because I've already made the changes. You restarted it in order to update all the changes. And once you have done all this, you are basically ready to move on to the next task. This is the most interesting part of the demo. The user is going to be creating and using the Postman software to create a REST request, which in turn creates an ACL on the virtual CSR1Kv. And what this does is that it permits the newly deployed application to access any destination on the TCP port 80. Just for reference, all the softwares and tools that we are going to be using this deployment are listed in the prereq section of the detailed deployment guide accompanied with this presentation. So before you start on your own, please go ahead and download all the required software and tools. So as far as demo purposes, I'm going to be showing you what to expect when you are working with the Postman environment and the Notepad++. So let's go ahead and go through it together. So when you enter the Postman environment, this is what your request is going to be looking like. And then you basically, what you do is that you copy it from the Postman tool onto your Notepad++ and basically go in languages and convert it into the Python syntax. So this is what you should be expecting when you are done with these steps. And just for validation purposes, I wanted to show you that, as you can see right here on line 11, CSR1Kv's private IP over here is 172.25.10.55. So now that we are inside the AWS environment and we have clicked on our CSR1Kv instance, we can see that one of the private IPs of the CSR1Kv instance is exactly the same as the one you saw in the Python request, and that is 172.25.10.55. So I just wanted to show you that everything is happening in real time, and it's just for validation purposes. So once you are done with these steps, you can move on to task 7. Now that we have created the Python script, what we are doing in task 7 is that we are creating another script. We're creating the shell script. And what the shell script does is that it retrieves the public and private IP addresses of the instances when they are launched in the CloudCenter, of course, and then they are passed on to the Python script. Of course, the approach that we have taken for this task is that we have created 2 scripts, as you can see, and then we have used the help of one of them to call the other one. There are different approaches to tackle this task, but we have used this approach. You are free to use whatever approach you are comfortable with. So for demo purposes, I wanted to kind of go through the script with you and show you the script itself. So here we are going to get into the Notepad++ again. And as you can see that this is the script that we have, the external script. In line 7 right here, what we are doing is that we are downloading the Python script, as you can see. Then here we are installing the modules. And then over here, as you can see, we are retrieving the private IP addresses of the VM, okay? And then over here, we're running the Python script itself. Again, this is an overview, so this is kind of fast, but in the deployment guide, that each and every single step is explained in that. So if this is too fast for you, you will understand a lot better when you go through the deployment guide itself. And now once you have done all this, we are good to go and move on to task 8. Now moving on to task 8. Here we will be creating the usage plan and contract, and then we will add the cloud to the CloudCenter, which in this case is obviously Amazon Web Services, and then finally we are going to model and deploy the app into the CloudCenter Manager. Again, for demo purposes, I wanted to show you the CloudCenter environment and how things are going to be working in that. So let's go ahead and do that together. So here you can see I have logged into the CloudCenter. I'm on the dashboard right now. So when you log in, this is the first thing you will see. And then when you hover over on the left side of the screen, all these options will be made available to you. You will have your app profiles. As you can see, I've already created mine, and these are what you are going to be deploying. And then we move on to the deployments. And here, as you can see, I have already deployed my 2 apps. And let's click on one of these. And as you can see, everything is working. Status is deployed. It usually takes 25 to 30 minutes for it to be deployed. So you have to wait a little bit after you actually deploy it. And I just want to show you that everything is happening in real time. So as you can see, the date right now is 2017, October 6th. I deployed this at around 6:51 p.m. And right now it is October 6th, around 7:45 p.m. So I deployed it, and then once I came back, it had been deployed. So this is what and once you are done with this part, you are basically done with the deployment, and then you move on to the verification tasks, which are in tasks 9 and 10. Now that we are done with the deployment task, we are moving on to tasks 9 and 10. This is basically where we verify that the scripts have been executed and then the ACL has been created. So what is happening in task 9 is that the CloudCenter by default is generating a SSH key pair. It's part of the initialization process. This aids in providing a secure VNC and SSH-based access to the VMs from the CloudCenter manager. And then we move on to task 10. Here what we are doing is that we are making sure that the two apps that we have deployed in Taskgate are functioning and that the scripts have been executed and that the ACL has been created on the virtual CSR1Kv. So if you follow these steps, you will be able to ensure that the task has been properly completed and the ACLs have been created. And I just wanted to show you what to expect. So here I have SSH'd into the CSR1Kv root, and as you can see, the ACL has been created, so that means we have successfully completed this task. And now we are going to move on to our conclusion. So this brings us to the end of this demo. We would like to thank Cisco for providing us with this opportunity. A reminder once again before we close the presentation that this demo will be accompanied with a detailed deployment guide which will have each and every single step explained, and it will also have visuals in the form of screenshots to aid the user in completing this task successfully. Future plans include holding a webinar for audience Q&A, so please do come and check us out on www.netnewum.com, and please let us know how we can help you with your data center deployment and integration needs in general, and also focusing on CloudCenter. Thank you for watching, looking forward to talking to you all, and have a nice day.